56th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Breakfast. We are delighted that you are here as we enter in on this holy, sacred, and inspirational day. We invite everyone to please find their seats and to welcome our house band and Lori Harper to lead us in song this morning. Put your hands together for them as we begin.
of God. Please welcome Leader of Ceremonies, Brittany Johnson, investigative reporter at WCVB Channel 5, Boston's news and community leader.
Hello, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Yes, I'm so happy to be here this morning among such beautiful people. It's going to be a great day. Good morning to Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, Mayor Michelle Wu, Senator Edward Markey, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, Attorney General Andrea Campbell, the Right Reverend Julia E. Whitworth, and Bishop Thomas J. Bickerton. We have a few more good mornings. Good morning to our sponsors, especially to our legacy sponsors, MathWorks and the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Good morning to our keynote speaker, activist, professor, author, and creator of the 1619 Project, A New Origin Story, Nikole Hannah-Jones. And good morning to all, the gathered beloved community, with a special shout out to the hundreds gathered in the digital salon on the 3rd floor here at the West End, and to those joining us on the live stream. On behalf of the organizing committee, I welcome you to the 56th annual MLK Breakfast, the nation's longest running event dedicated to honoring the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Yes. We are very excited to have everyone here in person at the West End Copley Place. And we also welcome everyone joining us virtually. I'm Brittany Johnson, investigative reporter for WCVB News Channel 5, and it is an honor to be here with all of you this morning. Today, our beloved community gathers under the banner theme, The Fierce Urgency of Now, Revolutionary Love, Liberation, and Joy. As we confront a myriad of current challenges to human rights, from the end of protections in reproductive security, to the stifling of academic freedom, to the assaults on affirmative action, to the threats of mass deportations, to the undermining of liberties for LGBTQ+ persons, to attacks on voting rights, we need today's gathering in order to re-inspire and reunite all of us for the work before us in 2026. So without further ado, let's begin. Today's program will feature uplifting musical selections by the Boston Arts Academy Spirituals Ensemble. And already you've heard the beautiful voice of Lori Harper, as well as the extraordinary musicianship of Plamen Karadanev on keys, David Buddha on bass, and Tyson Jackson on percussion. After our keynote address by Nikole Hannah-Jones, we will present scholarships to 12 deserving graduating high school seniors, 5 art awards to high school and collegiate students, celebrate our drum major awardees, the Epsilon Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Stolen Lee Incorporated, and Youth Build Boston, and our True Compass awardees, Karen Holmes Ward, and Frida Garcia, and Byron Rushing. It's my pleasure to bring you Right Reverend Julia E. Whitworth, Bishop Diocesan of the Episcopal Diocese of Massachusetts, to offer an invocation.
Good morning, beloved. It is a joy to be with you. My name is Julia Whitworth. I am the Episcopal Bishop of the Diocese of Massachusetts, which is in fact Eastern Massachusetts. I represent about 42,000 Episcopalians and 170 worshiping communities, and I bring to you their greetings. I invite you to pray with me. Eternal God, source of truth, justice, and human dignity, we gather in this city shaped by conscience and contradiction, a city that has known the courage to challenge injustice and the cost of failing to live up to its ideals. We come carrying our history with us, a history of revolution and righteousness, and also of enslavement, segregation, and exclusion, and the ways those sins have been defended, excused, and woven into our institutions and our traditions. Give us the honesty to face that past, the humility to learn from it, and the resolve to root out the evils which bind us still. For these are perilous days. White supremacy is no longer hiding at margins, and authoritarianism is no longer a whisper but a shout. With nationalism claimed as moral destiny, imperialism justified as strength, and religion distorted to sanctify violent dominion. God of our weary years and silent tears, do not let us be deceived. Do not let us grow inured to cruelty. Do not let our fear become tinged with hopelessness or resignation. Do not let us confuse silence with peace. Strengthen us with courage equal to this moment, the courage to name what is wrong, to refuse what dehumanizes, and to stand publicly for the dignity of all. Give us, God, resilience for the long work ahead, and grant us joy, not naive or complacent joy, but deep, disciplined joy that sustains hope and fuels action. On this day, we give thanks for the life and the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., for his moral clarity, his disciplined nonviolence, and his insistence that justice is necessary, essential to democracy, and love without justice is no love at all. Let his witness, God, bind us together this day in Boston and beyond, to become a community of compassion and resistance, committed to truth, to accountability, and to the common good. May this gathering nourish us in body and in spirit, that we might find true communion with one another, for the path to liberation is not wielding the tools of empire, but choosing relationship as our way forward. Bless every speaker, every musician, every shout and every silence, that this time might form us as a people of solidarity and hope, those empowered not for dominance but for freedom, for belonging, for resistance, and for mutual care. And finally, God, send us forward from this place, clear-eyed about the moment that we find ourselves in, honest about the work before us, and unafraid to proclaim, as Dr. King did, that there is another way to be. For this nation of ours, another dream to pursue together. For this moment has been entrusted to us, and we are called to live, to speak, and to stand bravely side by side for a time such as this, for the fierce urgency of now. Let the people of God say amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Whitworth. Now everyone, please stand in spirit or in body for the Black National Anthem led by Lori Hopper and Plamen Karadenev on keys. The lyrics can be found on page 2 of your souvenir program booklet. You can also find a few physical copies on your table, and in the spirit of environmental conservation, if you don't have a physical copy, please scan your neighbor's QR code.
Lift every
My goodness, what a treat. Please give it up one more time. You all may be seated, and breakfast service may now please begin. Let's all express our thanks to the servers of the breakfast, chefs, line cooks, and hotel staff. The MLK Memorial Breakfast is the longest running in the nation. The partnership between its co-presenters, St. Cyprian's Episcopal and Union United Methodist churches, have endured for 56 years. On behalf of these congregations, which forms the MLK Memorial Breakfast Committee, from St. Cyprian's Episcopal Church, Reverend Kevin Vadiak, and from Union Church, Reverend Dr. J. Williams.
Good morning, all. What a blessing it is to be gathered here together this morning. I consider it a privilege to stand here before you as priest in charge of the historic St. Cyprian's Episcopal Church. A historically black congregation that was founded because its members were sick and tired of all of the racism they encountered in the early 20th century. They grew tired of begging for a seat at the table, so they decided to build their own table and establish their own church. And I am so proud to be a part of that legacy this morning. And I am beyond excited to welcome all of you to the 56th annual MLK Memorial Breakfast. 56 years ago, this breakfast started as a small gathering in the basement, or what we say, lower fellowship hall of a church. And look where we are now. God has brought us a mighty long way. Amen? Amen. Beloved, your presence here this morning is an act of resistance. While so many others have given themselves over to hate, division, and callousness, you have decided to continue the fight for Dr. King's vision of peace, justice, and equality for this nation. If Dr. King were here today, I believe he'd tell us all to stay in the fight. And what are we fighting against? We fight against the spirit of fear that causes far too many good people to remain silent. We fight against the spirit of despair that causes far too many to give up and never discover their own power to affect change. We fight against the spirit of apathy that allows people to be more concerned about the rate of their taxes than the fate of immigrants shipped off to another prison in another country without due process. Civil rights leader Dr. Vernon Johns once said, "When you see a good fight, jump in." And I don't know about you, but I believe the fight for justice is a good fight. I believe the fight for equality is a good fight. I believe the fight to rescue our nation from authoritarianism and fascism is a good fight. I don't know about you, but I believe that the fight to build God's beloved community right here and right now is a good fight. So if you came to see a good fight, you came to the right place. So may this MLK Memorial Breakfast this morning not only feed your body, but may it fuel you in your soul to stay in the fight. This fight to build this beloved community that God desires this world to be. Thank you all for your presence here this morning.
First of all, shout out to everyone who is gathered in the digital salon. There's 400 folks on the third floor, and those of us in the main ballroom. Put our hands together for our companions in the digital salon. Good morning, beloved. I'm Jay Williams. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the co-chair of the MLK Memorial Breakfast along with Rev Kev, and I am also the lead pastor of the Union Combined Parish, one congregation ministering in multiple locations across Greater Boston, Union Church in the South End, Old West Church in the West End, and we're in early development stages to convert our Brighton and Everett properties into affordable housing. And amen. And in July, our clergy team also began pastoring two additional congregations, St. Stephen's in West Roxbury and Bethany First in Roslindale. And together we are pooling our resources in order to make transformation in our communities. Let the church say amen. Page 51 of the program booklet tells a little bit more about Union's story and commitment to love and liberation. We are a spiritual home to those who believe in hope and pursue justice. At Union, we have marked this semi-quincentennial year 2026 as we celebrate, yes, the 250th anniversary of the 1776 Declaration of Independence. This year we have marked as a year of interdependence. While the notion of rugged individualism is so central to the American narrative that we know we choose community. When American exceptionalism has become the norm, we point to our common humanity that transcends nation state. And indeed, our selection of the brilliant Nikole Hannah-Jones as today's keynote has been an intentional and deliberate one. That the 1619 Project, A New Origin Story, is an extraordinary reworking of that non-critical and non-historical form of patriotism that dislocates the notion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness from its essential antecedent, which is justice. So turn to your neighbor and say, we are stronger together. That's how we defeat a bully in the White House. Together. We defeat a bully with our collective power. We are stronger together, and our hope is in each other. We are not alone. While we will not run from the grief and the anger of this moment, we are still here. And indeed, we are together stronger because there is something inside of us that is part of us, that is more than us, and it's the power of the Spirit working within us as we pursue love and justice and joy. This is revolutionary because the spiritual says this joy that we have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. So today's gathering might offer a counter narrative, and I would like to invite to the stage some of my friends, Dr. Amari Parris-Jeffries, President and CEO of Embrace, Andres Holder, Executive Director of the Boston Children's Chorus, and Carolyn Casey, Executive Director of Project 351. As they come to the stage, another dear friend of mine who is two friends who are like big sisters, Crystal Collier and Angela Nelson, they're both in the room today. They help me to understand, there's a difference between an ally and an accomplice. An ally might be on your side, but an accomplice is gonna fight with you, Rev Kev. They're gonna fight with you and fight for you, and we need more accomplices for the fight ahead. So as the anchors of the MLK Beloved Community Weekend, we have committed to magnify each other's voices as we sing the same song of freedom, shoulder to shoulder and hand in hand, onward we go together. Okay, so have you ever been utterly exhausted and absolutely exhilarated at the same time? Well, that's how I feel today, at least. First of all, look, my phone has been blowing up with folks trying to get tickets to an event that sold out in November. So y'all, next year, help a brother out. We got to do better. Please don't wait till the last minute, all right? Because I just can't do this no more. But more seriously, I'm both tired and amped up because on Saturday morning, we joined 800 eighth graders who packed out Faneuil Hall to launch Project 351 Day of Service. And our Lieutenant Governor was a speaker there. We had church yesterday at St. Cyprian's in Union, and at Union, luckily, my bishop, Bishop Bickerton, who will give the benediction today, preached heaven down, reminding us of the enduring faithfulness of God. Then after church, went home, did a quick wardrobe change, headed over to SOA Power Plant for the Embrace Awards dinner, and then the Friends and Family Gala. The Embrace team knows how to throw a party. And then later today at 4 p.m., many of us will be over at Symphony Hall for the Boston Children's Chorus annual MLK concert. So Executive Director Andres, why don't you come help us out and give us a little preview?
So there's 300 children at Symphony Hall right now preparing for the concert, and I know that you're going to join me right now to raise your voices as they are at Symphony Hall and join me in a short "We Shall Not Be Moved." I know I'm going to hear you from the back. I know downstairs everyone's going to be singing. Is that correct? Yes. All right, here we go. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for our freedom. We shall not be moved. We're fighting for our freedom. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Thank you very much for joining us in song. Please don't tell our children that they got me to sing, because they don't let me sing over there. Like, do the spreadsheets. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking a stand.
Thank you.
Look, as I conclude, long before I became an alpha man, the fraternity of Martin Luther King Jr., way back in 8th grade, I was bullied. Before Invisalign, I had the braces and the pimples and glasses, and as a skinny kid whose head was a tad too big for his body, some of the bigger kids picked on me. Inside I knew I was gay, a bit queer, but I didn't know what it really meant to be free, in the words of Nina Simone, and certainly didn't know how to be fierce and free. And so I was afraid. And some of us, we're afraid right now. Until some other kids saw what was happening and stood with me and told me it gets better, and I wasn't alone, and that all of us have inherent sacred worth and dignity created in the image of God. They helped me to reach a point when I decided that I wasn't going to take any more shit from anybody, anywhere. We see what is happening, and some of us are afraid. And in this moment, let us stand together and not take any more of this shit. We gotta reach a point where enough is enough, because we are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the people who believe in the transformational power of love to heal this broken world. So look around. Just look around right now. Beautiful, beloved, each of us belongs here. We're beautiful people of all walks of life, black and brown, white and Latin, Asian and indigenous, young and more seasoned, economically stable and struggling, transgender and cisgender, gender non-conforming, non-binary, differently abled, physically challenged, straight, gay, lesbian, queer, allies, Muslim, Jews, lifetime Christians, new beginners, skeptics, seekers, all of us. Together, we are gathered in this room. Together, we are the beloved community, and we believe in love. So do me a favor, and we got to get this for the picture. Everybody just throw up the love sign today. Just throw up the love sign today. We are the beloved community. We are stronger together, and from each other we might find the inspiration and the courage. Courage means to take heart, and inspiration means to take a breath. So when our hearts break and we can't breathe, just take a deep breath and place your hand over your heart and pledge allegiance to the beauty that dwells within you. You are holy, you are divine, you are God's gift. So, beloved, be loved today and every day, and carry the love that is in this room into a world so full of hate, and be love in that world. We are the beloved community. So let us end with a shout out. Would all the elected officials please stand up? All the elected officials, why don't you rise? And now would all the clergy in the room please stand up? And would all the educators and students please stand up? And would all the healthcare professionals please stand up? And would all of the service professionals please stand up? And activists, please stand up. And beloved community, please stand up. And together, give yourselves a round of applause. We are the beloved community, and we will change this world together.
At this time, it is our great pleasure to present the history-making and trailblazing leadership of the Commonwealth and the City of Boston. Everyone, please welcome Governor Maura Healey, the first woman elected to lead the people of Massachusetts.
Well, good morning and happy Martin Luther King Day to all of us. It's wonderful to be here in the city of Boston. Mary Wu, great to see you, and great to see so many people here and know that there are so many more people in another room with us this morning celebrating and affirming Dr. King's message and all that he stood for. I want to thank all the leaders in this room, those of us elected and the unelected, who every day are showing up to care, to lean in, and to take the kind of collective action that we need. I'm going to start and be brief this morning, but I want to start with this. To me, coming to this breakfast year after year, the first thing that it's about for me is a celebration and an affirmation of what Dr. King stood for. Freedom, equality, decency, dignity, and that we are all God's children. And I want to thank, as always, St. Cyprian's and Union United Methodist Church for convening this year after year after year. And in a state, yes, where we brag about firsts, we are so proud to be home to the nation's first MLK breakfast. But to me, that's the first point, is to celebrate and affirm what Dr. King represents. The second thing, and particularly in this time, and I loved that the theme this year is the fierce urgency of now, okay, is to call out and recognize the world in which we are living. It is understandable that people across our country are struggling with anxiety, with fear, with uncertainty, with anguish. Today, we find ourselves in a moment of challenge. The hard-fought, hard-won gains of the civil rights movement, and so many, generation after generation, are under attack. Cuts to SNAP benefits, cuts to health care, taking away the images of Black people, people of color, women off of federal websites, erasing, denying, in fact, penalizing DEI. When I met with RFK at the White House to talk about issues a while ago, he told me the only cuts to research and science were those for DEI. Every day, and particularly on our streets, in our neighborhoods, we see the federal government actively attacking cities and states, Americans and residents. That's not right. And to say nothing of people in positions of power, the highest positions in the land, continuing to engage in abuse of power, and worse, calculated cruelty. That's what's happening. But to me, it's a time for leadership. It's a time for collective leadership. And it is a time for resolve. This year, we celebrate the 250th anniversary of this nation. And by the way, we are so fortunate to have with us this morning. I know we all look forward to hearing from her, Nikole Hannah-Jones. And I say that because it is a time to know our history, to understand our history, the good and the bad, the ever constant work towards a more perfect union, all of our history. And we've faced struggles right here in Massachusetts, and we've seen leadership. Phyllis Wheatley, remember her? The poet who was brought here unjustly, but was able to use the tools she found and the strength within to make her voice heard. We had Black and Indigenous soldiers serving in our colonial militia, not yet free themselves, but who fought in the Revolution. You think of Elizabeth Freeman and Quock Walker. They sued for their own freedom right here in Massachusetts under our state constitution, and by doing so, made Massachusetts the first state to abolish slavery. We've been a destination for some transformational leaders like Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth. We're the state where a once governor sent the Massachusetts 54th Regiment from Boston to fight the war, to defeat slavery nationwide and bring our union together. We're home to the first chartered NAACP in the country. And of course, we're home to the leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's amazing. He came here to study and change the future of America along with his equally brilliant partner, Coretta Scott King. So this morning, I say to Massachusetts, we are not afraid We know what is right. We know what is wrong. We believe in the values of freedom, of justice, and we believe and know how to put those into action every day. To value diversity as the most important strength that we possess, and to always work for equity and opportunity everywhere. We do this with the fierce urgency of Dr. King. We do this with the fierce urgency of now. And finally, we do this with hope, with certainty in our course, and with a knowing understanding of what will get us there, and the power of working together, believing in one another, lifting up our neighbors, taking care of one another, and knowing that in this time we will see our way through to other times, if, most importantly, we act and show and live love every day. Happy Martin Luther King Day, everybody. God bless you, God bless Massachusetts, and God bless this country.
Thank you, Governor. And now let us all welcome Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who was recently re-elected as mayor of the city of Boston.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Good morning, everyone. To Reverend Batiak, to Reverend Williams, to the St. Cyprians and Union communities, to all of our faith leaders, all of our public servants, thank you for keeping this very important, nation-changing, historic tradition going. I also want to thank and recognize, just right at the very top, the people in this room who keep me going at the City of Boston, our team at the city. I'm joined here by so many of the leaders who have poured their heart and soul at a very difficult time into making sure that our residents have what they need. So thank you. Where's our city table? I came in late, so I didn't even see you all. To Commissioner Michael Cox, to Chief Adrian Jordan, Chief Brianna Malord, Chief Jose Masso, Director and Dr. Basola Ojukutu, Rebecca Granger, Miss Lori Nelson, too many other staff to mention, and also our City of Boston Reparations Task Force. Thank you for what you do every day. Phyllis St. Hubert. Being back in this room feels like coming up for a breath of air. Last year at this time, I missed you all for the first time in 15 years. I had just gotten home from the hospital. I was in bed, unable to walk, remembering how to change diapers again, nursing through the night, and praying to God for strength that one day I would understand why his plan was that I had to wait until 40 years old and a re-election year to have our third child. Now, fast forward a year, Mira just turned 1 last week. It's been the fastest year of our lives. And her favorite word now, the first thing she says when she wakes up is go-go. You hear her stirring, whoever, her brother, dad, me, run into the room. She holds up her hands to get picked up, and then she just points and says, go, go. She wants to be on the move, especially when other people are carrying her. And it is that instinct, without fear, of just wanting to go, the instinct towards motion that lives in every child long before fear learns how to interrupt it. Dr. King called that the fierce urgency of now. So I am very glad to be back with the theme for this year, in this moment with this room and the other room and all who are watching, because I got some things to say. Now, I'm not going to say all of it because I want to hear Miss Nikole Hannah-Jones say the things more than anything else. But here's where I'll start. Today, this morning, I am not going to talk about you-know-who. Not because there's nothing to say about that bully, but because you already know what I would say. I have in my mind Dr. King's challenge that it's not about where we stand in moments of comfort and convenience. And although there's nothing comfortable or convenient about what's happening in those spaces, I have to be real and say that in politics, sometimes calling out things that are outside your control can be the space that is comfortable and convenient. So I want to talk about some things that are within our own control. I also have my mom's words in my head. Now, growing up, she learned English watching Oprah every single day. So I got a lot of good advice from her. But one thing she would say more often than anything else was, 一直指别人，四直指自己, which means when you point one finger at someone else, you got 4 fingers pointing back at yourself. So let's talk about ourselves for a little bit today. Last week, we saw a devastating vote at the state level, an initiative that the City of Boston has pushed for 2 years now to deliver basic residential property tax relief to spare our seniors, to provide a little bit of breathing room for families all across our city, not to increase the tax bills and payments of the commercial sector, but to slightly adjust it so that residents would save some $700 a month while the corporate sector has a 3% tax cut instead of a 4% tax cut. This went down at the state Senate with a 33-5 vote. Now, I want to mark that this was important. We got a vote. That is the point of democracy. Everyone needs to vote their conscience, and I'm glad that we finally got to that point. But we live in a system in Massachusetts where cities all across the Commonwealth have to go begging to the state to make basic decisions about the health, welfare, prosperity, well-being of their communities. And what we saw here was a proposal that is supported by the vast majority of our people in Boston, by 12 of 13 Boston City Councilors, by all 16 of our state representatives representing Boston at the State House, and now by 4 out of our 6 Boston senators. Thank you to Senator Liz Miranda. Thank you to Senator Lydia Edwards, Mike Rush, Sal DiDomenico, and also Pat Jalen, who is retiring and took this vote with us, that was blocked at the state. Now, I say this not to talk about a particular piece to make this into a legislative breakfast about a particular issue, certainly not about property taxes. But again and again, whether it is our push for rent stabilization to protect our residents that hasn't gotten a vote at the state, whether it's our push for a marginal bit of resources to fund affordable housing through a transfer fee, now 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, not getting a vote up there. I say this with love to all of us here. We gotta get it together. We got to get together for our people. I won't mention that the City of Boston has had a AAA bond rating for 12 years in a row, so this is not about fiscal responsibility. I say this with love, that we cannot let our Commonwealth, a beacon for freedom and hope and democracy, lean more on the lobbying of the Chamber of Commerce than the conscience of our community. Dr. King said, we must undergo a radical revolution of values from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. Because when machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, The giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. Now, Boston and Massachusetts have been a place that has always been incapable of being conquered. We know how to fight, but it takes all of us. And so again, I say this with love. We cannot let it be that our state and our community can find the funds to host the World Cup, but not get worked up about our seniors not being able to stay in their homes. That we can host and fund tall ships in the harbor, but we won't stand tall for our families who need help. That we can be proud to talk about the 250th and revolution when it's comfortable and convenient, about the survival of our democracy, as important as that is, but then turn a blind eye to the survival of people right here in our city. We are all in this together. We are stronger together. And so we got to get it together. Now, again, for myself, I will say in this room, especially today, I know we have got to do better at the city level too. Every day, we are trying and fighting to do more, to work harder, to learn, to be better, and not just doing the thing, but listening to our community and how we do it. And I want you to know and hear that that sits most of all on my heart. But today, I want to challenge this room, because Dr. King knew and told us that when our fundamental rights are attacked, when there's so much happening, so much noise, so much stress, so much harm, when hard-won progress must be defended again and again, it becomes difficult to imagine a better future, to summon the will, the motivation, the courage to go after it. But he insisted that we are not truly free until we push beyond mere resistance, beyond mere opposition. He called us toward creation. He called us to move forward with the brave work of building the beloved community, the brave work of building something too strong for fear to tear down or convenience to slow down. And that's what we are called to do today in Boston with the fierce urgency of now, choosing to go forward. Because a Boston that moves forward together is a Boston that no one can control. We refuse to be defined by what we oppose. We choose to be measured by what we create. If Dr. King's life taught us one thing, it's that history does not move on its own. So let us march forward together in the footsteps of those who set the standard here in Boston. Mel King, Melnia Cass, Elma Lewis, Prince Hall, Napoleon Jones Henderson, Reverend Dr. Michael E. Haynes, and so many more. I ran into Claire on the way in, Dr. Sarah Ann Shaw. Let us march forward with a new generation urging us, because before they learn how to say, wait a second, before they learn to ask to slow down, they are already pointing ahead. They are already saying it. Go, go. Dr. King's dream is still out there. In Boston, it's time to go.
Thank you, Mayor Wu. In many ways, Nikole Hannah-Jones needs no introduction. Her full bio can be found on page 19. Nikole Hannah-Jones is the Pulitzer Prize-winning creator of the 1619 Project and a staff writer at the New York Times Magazine. The book version of the 1619 Project, and as well as the 1619 Project children's book, Born on the Water, were instant #1 New York Times bestsellers. Her 1619 Project is now a 6-part docuseries on Hulu. Nikole has spent her career investigating racial inequality and injustice, and her reporting has earned her the MacArthur Fellowship, known as the Genius Grant, a Peabody Award, 2 George Polk Awards, and the National Magazine Award 3 times. She also serves as the Knight Chair of Race and Journalism at Howard University, where she founded the Center for Journalism and Democracy. Hannah Jones is also the co-founder of the Ida B. Wells Society for Investigative Reporting, which seeks to increase the number of investigative reporters and editors of color, and has also paved the way for investigative reporters like myself. And in 2022, she opened the 1619 Freedom School, a free after-school literacy program in her hometown of Waterloo, Iowa. Hannah Jones holds a Master of Arts in Mass Communication from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and earned her BA in History and African American Studies from the University of Notre Dame. Join me, please, everyone, in welcoming the iconic Nikole Hannah Jones, who will address us following this musical selection by the Boston Arts Academy Spirituals Ensemble. Let's welcome them.
Until the
Everyone, please, one more round of applause for that musical selections from Bright Mansions Above. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce everyone to Nikole Hannah Jones.
Okay, let me look at the time. Still morning. Good morning. Good morning. Before I start with my formal remarks, I also want to take a second to just thank the serving staff, the housekeeping staff, the chefs, and everyone who makes these rooms great for us. I often talk about my grandmother was a domestic and a janitor, and these are the people who make rooms like this nice for us and rarely get acknowledged for that work. I also want to thank the MLK Breakfast Committee for honoring me with the ability to come and speak to you today. I'm really honored to be part of that tradition. I'm just going to give a disclaimer before I give my remarks. I know we tend to want the keynote at a thing such as this to be inspirational. This will not be that sort of talk. I don't give inspirational talks in general, but we are in particularly dark times, and so I feel called to speak truth to the moment. We, of course, are gathered here this morning to honor the life and legacy of a man who gave his life trying to democratize what we were all told was the oldest democracy in the world. And this morning, I have to admit, it's hard to feel celebratory. We gather at a time where we see the work that Dr. King fought and died for being dismantled at a rapid pace by the most openly white nationalist administration of my lifetime. We gather at a time in the United States where our own heavy history and our unwillingness to grapple honestly with it is collapsing our democracy at breathtaking speed. We are witnessing the resurgence of America that we were taught in our school textbooks have been banished by Dr. King. People, as we speak, are being snatched off the streets and disappeared by agents of the state. There is a broad-scale attack on civil society, on the arts, on universities, on the museums, on our national parks, on philanthropy, and on our legal and political system as a strong man attempts to reshape a multiracial nation into one that is led solely by its white shrinking majority and that remembers just a single narrative that justifies this nation being led by a single race. As we gather here today, the United States is not at the brink of autocracy. We are, according to many scholars, already in the midst of it. That in a nation that likes to brag that it's the oldest continuing democracy in the world, our democracy is not holding. Our systems of checks and balances are no longer working, and there is likely tremendous suffering to come. We are just in the beginning of this, 1 year in. You know, when I was young, I was a young, painfully nerdy girl. I know it's very hard to believe because I'm so fabulous now. But there's evidence, just look at my old photos. This was not always the case. So I was this nerdy black girl growing up in a working class neighborhood in Waterloo, Iowa, and I had this very awkward obsession with watching Holocaust documentaries and reading history books on Jim Crow, which didn't make you very popular at school. But I was obsessed with this history. I was fascinated by it. And I would watch these documentaries with my dad, and I used to turn these questions over and over again in my head. How did societies allow themselves to lose their freedoms? How did they allow such cruelty to be visited upon their fellow human beings? How did people voluntarily give up their own rights? And I remember the still photos that they always show on documentaries of people who were not the victims of that oppression, laughing and taking their children to the parks and going to symphony and celebrating birthdays. And in the frame, those people always looked so good and kind. All the while, all of these brutal acts were being done in their names just down the road, and I wondered, how could that be? How could people love their families, love their neighbors, and yet still abide so much cruelty? I was particularly obsessed with the history of Reconstruction in the United States and how it ended. And I understood that the United States was founded as a democratic republic by landed white men, right? We often talk about, for instance, Massachusetts and the Boston Tea Party, but slavery was practiced in Massachusetts. Boston was a slave trading port, and in fact, all 13 of these colonies engaged in slavery. So we weren't founded as a democracy. We were founded as a slaveocracy by landed white men who only believed in democracy for themselves and other men like themselves. And this isn't radical, it's just fact. They wrote it themselves. You don't have to believe me. And since the purchase of those first captive Africans from a Dutch-made ship in the year 1619, race and racism has always functioned as the Achilles heel of this nation. Because people who would go on to import hundreds of thousands of Africans had no intention of granting citizenship to those who had been enslaved, and no intention that our democracy would ever include most of the people in this room. And so at emancipation, the United States, the land of the free, was home to the largest population of enslaved people in the world. Let me say that again, because the story we're often told in school was that we were the great abolitionist force in the world, that we were the first to end slavery. Y'all, we weren't the first, the second, the third, the fourth. By the time the United States ended slavery in the Civil War, every other nation except for two had abolished slavery in our hemisphere. And so suddenly, having brought about the end of slavery by fighting the deadliest war in the United States history, the nation had to decide what to do with those 4 million newly freed African people who had no citizenship in the land of their birth, nor no legal rights that a white man need respect, according to the Supreme Court. And so very briefly, at the end of the Civil War in a nation that had been torn apart over the issue of whether it would be free or slave, we attempted to build a multiracial democracy to ensure that racial caste could never tear our country apart again. That period was known as Reconstruction, and it only lasted about 20 years. But it was a remarkable history, period, in our nation's history. I mean, think about it. People who had just a few years prior been enslaved were now serving in the Senate and the House of Representatives. They were building schools and attending colleges, creating social clubs and reading organizations. You could imagine a new country being born, one that actually rejected the founding. As we think about this 1776, the sesquicentennial year, and we like to talk about Dr. King and this work as perfecting the vision of the founders. This room was not the vision of our founders. This room is a rejection of the vision of our founders. This is why I'm not getting invited to give talks for the 1776. But the truth is, y'all, the rot at our root could not so easily be cured. And too many white Americans did not believe in multiracial democracy. And too many white Americans who thought they believed in it weren't really willing to fight that hard for it. They had no intention of sharing power with those they considered their inferiors, and with 20 years, that brief experiment with multiracial democracy ended. Black Americans lost nearly all the rights they had earned after slavery. Black Americans would be purged from Congress and most institutions, and democracy itself would not return for at least a century. Even as the country arrogantly exported the mandate for democracy abroad, it violently suppressed it at home, forcing Black Americans to live under a system of racial apartheid for nearly a century. We weren't taught the history that way, though. So as a girl, I used to contemplate what it must have been like to be someone like Ida B. Wells, born in 1863 at the time of emancipation, to watch democracy born and then to watch it die, to watch industries and universities and lawmakers capitulate as they believed if they sacrificed the most marginal, their own freedom would be preserved. Well, we need not contemplate that history now to understand it, because we're living it. We're a witness to it, we're a part of it, and history is repeating. These lies that we were all told growing up have led us to believe that we alone in the world are immune to the anti-democratic forces that are sweeping across Europe and the globe, that our exceptionalism will save us. And this is what makes history, accurate history, so dangerous in an autocratic society. Because history and truth-telling about our past is an inoculation. Autocrats rise based on lies and distrust and a sense that they are the only rightful leaders and only certain people should hold power. Understanding history means we understand what our societies are capable of. And I mean the brutality that our societies are capable of. And if we understand that, then we're prepared for the fight ahead. But if we have some gauzy vision that everything will work out, that time is neutral, which Dr. King warned us against, then we think progress is inevitable. Now, some type of progress is inevitable, but progress can also move backwards. So because we have failed to learn our history, or indeed failed to learn from our history, instead of standing for the rights our forefathers and foremothers, and by them I mean the real forefathers and foremothers, those who came on a slave ship, those who read those words, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and knew that white man who owned 220 people did not intend that to include them, but actually believed that those words were for everyone, that they are the forefathers' vision that we have to fight for. Except right now, the United States is a nation awash in cowardice. This cowardice is not being demonstrated just by the people we believe to be our adversaries, but most devastatingly from the people we believed to be our allies. We have witnessed a vast capitulation, justifications, and an abandonment of the most vulnerable in our society, a refusal to stand up for multiculturalism against the greatest attack on civil rights in a century, an acceptance of a lawlessness in a society that said it was superior because we were a nation of laws. In America, we are witnessing a collective turning of our backs as we cast blame on those who sought to make our society more fair, who are trying to grapple with its history and injustices, even if sometimes that grappling was messy and imperfect. For years now, I've been trying to raise the alarm through my writing, through my public speaking, to warn us that we are still being held captive to the poison at our root, that we had to be honest about our past in this country, not to feel shame, but to overcome it, and that in America, racial injustice and democracy are antithetical to each other. You cannot have racial inequality and have democracy at the same time. I tried through my writing, through my public speaking, to argue that as long as we maintained inequality, then democracy was at risk. Because the truth is, multiracial democracy in America was not achieved until 1965, after a bloody civil rights struggle led by Dr. King and so many other activists forced this nation to pass the Voting Rights Act, ensuring Black Americans and other racial minorities the right to vote. And when we say that, we must understand multiracial democracy has always been contested, always violently so. And now, as we are seeing the very color of our democracy shift, we should not be surprised that that old guard is willing to destroy democracy to keep power. We must be honest. I know I look very, very young, but I'm 50 years old, and democracy is only 10 years older than I am. That's not the lesson we get in history, but that is the truth. And as I stand here before you today, I have to admit that my pen wasn't strong enough. None of us had a strong enough pen. Our activism wasn't strong enough because we're here. A few months ago, I had the honor of sitting on a panel with 4 veterans of the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement. You know, often when we hear about the story of Mississippi, which was the most thoroughly fascist state in America, we're told about the brave college students who came down. But we're not often told about the people who lived there, who had nowhere to escape to, who had to live next to the people who were killing them and lynching them and hiding their bodies in the muddy rivers. So I was down there on stage to mark the 100th anniversary of Medgar Evers' birth. And of course, Medgar Evers, World War II veteran, went to Europe, fought fascism in Europe, fought to liberate Europe, came home, fought for voting rights in America for black people, and was assassinated by another World War II veteran for doing so. That's the story of America. So Mississippi, as some of you may know, is my ancestral land. If you know a little bit about that state, you know that it was, at the time, a majority black state with no black elected officials, with no ability for black people to cast a ballot, and the black population there was controlled through breathtaking acts of violence. Yet in the midst of that horror, black Mississippians risked their lives and too often lost their lives to democratize Mississippi and therefore to democratize this country. As I sat on that panel, my daughter was with me just a few feet away, this carefree 15-year-old black girl who didn't know any of the struggles that I knew growing up, and certainly none of the struggles that my father, born on a cotton plantation, knew growing up, or her grandmother. And she's sitting there just a few feet away from these men, and she's hearing the stories of how when they were just her age, they got arrested for the first time after deciding that if necessary, they would give their lives to dismantle American apartheid. I remember sitting there looking at her and looking at them and thinking how very short was that distance between her life and theirs. That this 15-year-old child could sit in the room with people who are still living, who had to risk and often give their lives for the basic rights that other people in this country always enjoyed. And while I was up there, someone asked the panelists, these men who are now aged and telling their stories, they said, how were you not afraid? It was Mississippi. Mississippi lynched more black people than any state in the Union. And every last one of them said, what do you mean? Of course we were afraid. We were absolutely terrified. But our lives were already in danger in Mississippi. Living in the Mississippi Delta as a black person was to live in constant fear. And they said, we decided we'd rather die fighting than submit to the slow death of taking part in our own oppression. Now listen, y'all, I have studied this history for a long time. I'm obsessed with this, some may say. But I was shook by that. I was shook by that because all of these years of studying, reading books, it wasn't until that moment that it struck me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to act in spite of it. That courage actually requires you to be afraid or it's not courageous. And so we often use our fear as an excuse not to act, but courage means we steer into that fear. Dr. King knew that his fight to democratize America, that his stance against unchecked capitalism, militarism, and racism was deeply unpopular. That polls showed at the time of his death, most white Americans had turned against him. That politicians who had once stood with him when he was only doing his work against the Jim Crow South turn their backs when he turned his lens on the racial apartheid being practiced in the North? In his final speech in Memphis, it was clear how much Dr. King was thinking about the danger of his work, that he understood the danger of trying to force a deeply hypocritical nation to live up to its own ideals. By 1967 and 1968, the loose and easy language about what Dr. King said was that the loose and easy language about equality, resonant resolutions fall pleasantly on the ear, but each step ignites a white backlash. He says, what would happen to me from some of our sick white brothers? This is his last speech. He said, well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've seen the mountaintop, and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would love to live a long life, but longevity has its place, and I'm not concerned with that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed me to go up the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. And He said, I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people, we will get to the promised land. And when you hear those words and you know what happened the next day, you understood the courage he was invoking in his own soul in that moment. Of course, Dr. King was afraid. That is what made him so courageous. That's what made what he did so powerful. And that is what is required from all of us. I don't have to tell you all, some of you know my story. I faced attack from the highest office in the land. I see there's my sister, Ayanna Presley. We know the cost that is borne for those who refuse to be silent in the face of injustice. But in a landscape of so little courage, I remind myself that I am the most profound testament to what my ancestors built and what my ancestors bore, and how dare we lose it. We are seeing these attacks on civil rights under the guise of DEI. We're seeing the erasure of history right in front of our eyes, the censoring of Black speakers. We are seeing the dismissal of the very humanity of our trans brothers and sisters. We are seeing immigrants being targeted and disappeared. And I have been struck by the silence, the absolute silence of so many. So in this moment, we have to be excruciatingly honest with ourselves. There was this meme that used to go around a couple years ago. People thought it was cute, and that meme said, I am not my ancestors. And I remember getting so angry at that. How dare you? You're absolutely right, because most of y'all won't even stand up to your boss at work. You are not your ancestors. You are absolutely right. But then that anger actually turned to sadness, because I realized people felt that because they hadn't been taught what our ancestors actually did do. They didn't understand the courage. And when I say ancestors, yes, I mean my Black ancestors, but I mean that small number of white abolitionists who also joined. I mean those white folks who also came down south and fought for integration, and the few white folks in Boston who fought for it too. But the reason I invoke the ancestors, when we think back on Dr. King's legacy, right, we all, when we look in the past, have courage. We all like to imagine back then we would have been marching with King. We would have put our bodies on the line. We would have stood up for what is right. Well, what I posit to you is what you're doing right now is what you would have been doing back then. If you are silent now, you would have been silent back then. If you are accommodating this regime now, you would have been accommodating it back then. If you're more concerned with your personal status and your assets now than justice, well, you know what I'm going to say. We are all waiting for the right moment, or maybe for it to get close enough to us that the stakes feel right. But I'm going to tell you, like my sister Audre Lorde said, your silence will not protect you. Our liberation is tied to the liberation of all people. I think we are learning that now, right? The folks who thought they were only voting for someone else's destruction are finding that destruction is coming to their own doorstep. Whether it be the undocumented immigrant, whether it be a trans woman or a trans man, whether it be a black person or whether it be a child in Gaza, we have to fight for freedom for every person in this world. So I'm going to try to leave y'all on just a little bit of inspiration, if possible. The times, they do feel hopeless, but we are not helpless. There will one day be an accounting of what we did in this moment. We're going to have to answer to our children, to our grandchildren, when they ask, what did you do when that was happening? Where were you, Mom? Where were you, Dad? We're going to have to answer for that. I now feel like I'm in my dissent writing mode. I understand my role, which is not to be quiet, not to let us pretend in future generations that we didn't choose what we're choosing right now. I'm determined to bear witness no matter what it costs me. So what I ask you all as I leave here, as we leave here today, is I ask us all to resolve to be good ancestors ourselves. That when the story is told of this moment, we can be proud about the choices we made and how we stood up. Because I know what history is going to say about me, but what is history going to say about you? Thank you very much.
I don't know about all of you, but I know I will take that recording and be listening to it every morning so I can get hyped up and ready to go. Thank you so much, Nikole Hannah-Jones. That's the perfect segue into our award presentations. Now we turn to honor our scholarship award recipients, and it is an honor to have these awards presented by our voice in the U.S. House of Representatives, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. We invite Congresswoman Pressley to offer us a few words before we begin the award ceremony.
Good morning. Woo, y'all, it feels good to be home. Good to be in the Massachusetts 7th, good to be in Boston, the city where the union of Martin and Coretta was first forged, a union, a love, a radical black love that birthed not only 4 children, Martin, Bernice, Yolanda, and Dexter, but gave birth to a movement. Now, last night we celebrated the divine embrace of Coretta and Martin, an embrace that laid the foundation for a divine assignment. As I travel the country and our Commonwealth, I love reminding folks before there was Atlanta, before there was Montgomery, there was Boston. And of course, Boston is no stranger to making history. This 50-year breakfast tradition is historic, both in its inception and the long-standing nature of it. Thank you to these two dedicated faith houses. Thank you to the Memorial Breakfast Committee. Thank you to our volunteers, and thank you to our banquet waitstaff. And finally, thank you to our keynote speaker, my dear sister friend, the singular Nikole Hannah-Jones, who's also so very fly. Now, it is certainly a humbling honor and intimidating prospect to be between the genius of Miss Hannah-Jones and the award ceremony for our gifted young people in today's program. A wise man once advised, when addressing a crowd, be brief, be sincere, and be seated. And then church folk, in advance of today's program, told me, Congresswoman, you've got 5 minutes. Seriously. Well, y'all, I better get to it. Now, do me a favor. If you've heard some of this before, just pretend it's the first time. Just like I need you to pretend like this is the first time you've seen this outfit. Now, as a child, my mother would send me down south to Selma, Alabama to spend time with my great-grandmother, Mama Liza. She chopped her own firewood, ate what she grew in her garden, kept a snuffed tobacco spit can next to her recliner, and was swift with a switch on your behind with a hint of disrespect. Now, Mama Liza wasn't formally educated beyond the 6th grade, I don't think, but she was smart, strong, and God-fearing. She was nearly 6 feet tall, but stood even taller to me because she was proud. When I returned home from vacation Bible school, while I snacked on her homemade hoe cakes, y'all don't hear me, she would rock in her recliner, quilting and humming. I would stare in awe at the nimbleness of her hands, and as an inquisitive child, I peppered her with questions about her life and about the story behind each square she was stitching together. When she would finish a quilt, I would wrap it around my shoulders like a cape. I felt as if the life behind each patch was being transmitted to me, and I was drawing superhero strength, safety, and freedom from its patchwork covering. I can feel the essence of those moments now. I felt proud and love wrapped up in Mama Eliza's quilt. Now, the walls of Mama Eliza's Selma home were adorned with our family photos spanning years and one faded 8x10 black and white portrait of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. It was appropriate that he was featured among our family, a literal reminder that Martin was ours. He was us. His courage, his brilliance, his faith and pride, all a powerful and beautiful reflection of us. Family, I know these are chaotic and uncertain times. It is easy to find oneself consumed by the cruelty and dysfunction of it all, but it is essential that we not allow despair to take over. Now, true, there are people who mean our collective humanity harm, who mean black folks harm, who animate their hate through dangerous rhetoric and policy violence. And yet, I'm no longer asking myself, how low can they go? Folk who fear DEI more than a dictator. Folk who speak with a mouthful of scriptures but walk with a heart of hate. Folk who claim to be patriots but lead insurrections. Folk who sow chaos, terrorize communities in the name of so-called public safety. No, I'm no longer asking how low can they go, only how hard can I and can we fight? And fight we must. History has already shown us that appeasement does not work. The only way to beat a dictator is with defiance. I don't know about y'all, but in the midst of this anti-blackness on steroids, attacks on black people, black bodies, black votes, black history, black power and progress, what calms me is knowing that somebody already wrote the blueprint for our survival. The blueprint is written in our elders' strategies for change, like that of Byron Rushing and Frida Garcia and Karen Holmes Ward. It's written in the marches and the boycotts and the mobilizations of our ancestors. The blueprint is written in the words of Dr. King, who instructed us, especially our young people like today's MLK scholars and art awardees, to have a belief in one's own dignity, in your worth, in your own somebodyness. Your life matters. It has ultimate significance. Dr. King said, you should never be ashamed of your color. You are black and beautiful. The blueprint is written in the prayers sent up and the blood that was shed. So you see, I don't care what the insecure man with a small mind, small heart, and he hates when I say this, even smaller hands, has to say at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, who thinks he is a king. I care about the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, the man, the black man, who was an original architect of Black Lives Matter, who wrote the blueprint for the civil rights movement, for me, for our survival. 250 years of enslavement, we are still here covered by our ancestors' quilts. 88 years of Jim Crow, we are still here covered by our ancestors' quilts. Pandemics and insurrections, we are still here covered by our ancestors' quilt. During and after the current occupant of the Oval Office, we will still be here. Family, we are so much more than resilient. We are miracles manifest. Though we find ourselves at an acute crossroads as a nation and as a people, I believe what Dr. King said. Right temporarily defeated is stronger than evil triumphant. Now, it is no secret that we are being pulled apart at the seams all around us. But there will come a time when we will get to the other side and we will need to do that radical reimagining and that radical work of reconstruction. And we will need, just like my mama Liza, some master quilters that know how to piece together something beautiful from what's been discarded. As I close, I'm reminded of the January 6th insurrection. When I was on the floor, in the dark, barricaded in my office, and the voices were getting louder and closer. I remember many, many hours later, an image of black custodians in the U.S. Capitol cleaning up the mess left behind by this white supremacist mob, wearing T-shirts with anti-Semitic slogans, brandishing Confederate flags, erecting nooses on the west lawn of the Capitol. Black custodians cleaning up the mess left behind by this white supremacist mob. It was as literal as it was figurative, because as black people, we have been doing that. But because of those Black custodians, the work that they did made it possible for us to return to the House, to do our business, to ratify those election results. Their actions were that of patriots, but we have always been patriots, innovators, defenders of democracy. Black people, put on your ancestors' quilts and keep fighting for freedom and justice. Happy Martin Luther King Day. All right, now keep clapping for these incredible young people.
Thank you, Congresswoman Presley. As we begin our Scholarship Awards ceremony, we invite you to turn to page 32 in the program booklet, where you will find details about the MLK High School Scholarship Awards. First, the MLK Memorial Breakfast Committee is pleased to honor 12 high school seniors from Boston Latin Academy, Boston Latin School, the Edward M. Kennedy Academy for Health Careers, the Dr. Albert D. Holland School of Technology, and John D. O'Brien School for Mathematics and Science. MathWorks, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, the Denny, Miles and Street Families, Cabot Corporation, Carl and Bridget Long, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, the Episcopal Diocese of Massachusetts, Fidelity Investments, Keolis Commuter Services, Liberty Mutual Insurance, the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, the New Commonwealth Fund, and Nellie Mae Education Foundation, and the WU Committee are the proud sponsors of the High School Scholarship Awards, providing a $2,500 scholarship to each of these high school seniors. Along with Congresswoman Presley, this award is presented with Reverend Kevin Vadiak and Reverend Dr. J. Williams and Nikole Hannah-Jones. These graduating students were chosen based on thoughtful essay submissions on our theme, the fierce urgency of now, revolutionary love, liberation, and joy. We ask that you all hold your applause, please, until every recipient's name has been called. We'll start with Boston Latin School, Abel Eby. Boston Latin Academy, Carl Mateus Washington. Daniel Idimodia. From John D. O'Brien School for Mathematics and Science, Cladani Bellevue. Khalees Foster. Aisha Beckford. Frederic Alexander Gaitan Rodriguez. From Dr. Albert D. Holland School of Technology, Hannah Bond. From Edward M. Kennedy Academy for Health Careers, Rebecca Kabia. Amani Pagan. Ludiani Mayra Castro. Bejbeli Jean. Congratulations to all of our scholarship winners. Now let's turn to the Drum Major Awards presentation. In February 1968, in one of his final sermons, Martin Luther King Jr. imagined his own funeral, urging the congregation not to dwell on his life's achievements, including his receipt of the Nobel Peace Prize, but instead, King asked to be remembered as one who, quote, tried to give his life serving others. He implored his congregation to remember his attempts to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and comfort prisoners. King mentioned, quote, "Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness, and all of the other shallow things will not matter." The following individuals and organizations they founded exemplify the drum major instinct so passionately reimagined from a distinction of personal pride to King's call to consensus and care for community. The Drum Major Award goes to the Epsilon Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Andreas Douglas. More information about the Epsilon Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated can be found on page 29. This award is being accepted by longstanding member and chapter president Andreas Douglas on behalf of the fraternity. The mission of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is a clarion call for all duly initiated members of its organization to develop leaders, promote brotherhood and academic excellence while providing service and advocacy for the community. The Alphas have created national programming and locally developed community and social justice initiatives. Notably, last year, the brothers of the EGL chapter of Alpha recently participated in the unveiling of a plaque commemorating the fraternal beginnings of Brother Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Roxbury. Again, let's celebrate Andreas and the Epsilon Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Next, we have Stoll and Lee Incorporated, M. David Lee. The full bio can be found on page 30. M. David Lee is the president of Stoll and Lee Incorporated, an award-winning architecture, urban design, and planning firm, and pioneer in the profession. Mr. Lee is a Harvard Graduate School of Design alumni, member of the Distinguished College of Fellows of the American Institute of Architects, and recipient of the Boston Society of Architects 1997 Award of Honor. Stoll and Lee Incorporated was founded in 1966 and is an award-winning architecture, urban design, and planning firm. The firm's experience includes the design of multifamily housing, educational and healthcare institutions, office buildings, retail and manufacturing facilities. Everyone, please, let's celebrate M. David Lee and Stoll and Lee Incorporated. Next, we have Youth Build Boston, Peter Hunt. The full bio can be found on page 31. Peter Hunt is the executive director at Youth Build Boston. Youth Build Boston offers exciting opportunities for young people in Boston and surrounding areas to explore careers in architecture, engineering, and construction industry. Youth Build Boston integrates construction, architecture, education, youth empowerment, and workforce development into an innovative approach to community building. Accepting the Drum Major Award on behalf of Peter Hunt is Darius Smith and Neil Daniel. Let's all celebrate Peter and Youth Build Boston. And now let's turn to the Art Awards presentation. We invite you to turn to page 33 of your program booklet, where you will find details about the Art Award recipients and see images of their artwork. First, the MLK Memorial Breakfast Committee is pleased to honor 3 10th grade student artists from Fenway High School with an award of $500 and 2 collegiate artists from Mass Art with an award of $500 each to support their talent and ambition. High School, Fenway High School, Dylan Steinmetz, Sebastian Gutierrez, Jasmine Medina. And Collegiate Mass Art, Ferguson Sam Ford, Trayvon Nugent. Congratulations to our Art Award winners. Thank you again to our Drum Major Award recipients and our art recipients. Won't you join me once again in expressing gratitude with another round of applause? Now let's turn to the True Compass Awards presentation. The True Compass Award is a special award for individuals and community organizations whose life work has contributed to the promotion of social justice, racial equality, and civil discourse. The award, originally created in 2016, was given the name the True Compass Award, taken from the title of Senator Edward Kennedy's autobiography, True Compass, a memoir, and a quote from that work. This is the greatest lesson a child can learn. It is the greatest lesson anyone can learn. It has been the greatest lesson I have learned. If you persevere, stick with it, work it, you have a real opportunity to achieve something. Sure, there will be storms along the way, and you might not reach your goal right away. But if you do your best and keep a true compass, you'll get there. The following individuals exemplify what it means to be a True Compass Award recipient. The first True Compass Award goes to Frida Garcia and Byron Rushing. Hi, congratulations. I have a few things to read before.
Oh, you?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a few things after I return from the board, then you'll be up. Thank you. Their full bios can be found on pages 22 and 23. I'd like to say a few words about both of them. Frida Garcia is a Dominican-born community activist and organizer who has spent decades working to improve life in Boston's South End and Roxbury neighborhoods. Frida has contributed over 50 years of work in the public sector and has served on over 70 nonprofit boards as a community leader, including chairman of the board of directors for the Boston Foundation, the Massachusetts Foundation for Humanities and Policy, and the United Way. She was also the founding member and first director of La Alianza Hispania, a Latino service organization. Frida also served as executive director of the United South End Settlement for 20 years, where she expanded programs in education, affordable housing, literacy, and job training. Byron Rushing is a civil rights and community organizer. Byron has held many titles, including director of the Urban Change Program for the Urban League, president of the Museum of African American History, co-chair of the Massachusetts Health Disparities Council, and many more. Byron also served as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, representing Boston's 9th Suffolk District from 1983 to 2018. There's more. Byron is well known for becoming the leading progressive voice on issues related to LGBTQ+ rights, healthcare reform, racial justice, and affordable housing. Throughout his life, Byron has been recognized for his advocacy and leadership, reflecting on decades of dedication to advancing equity, preserving history, and improving the lives of those in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let's all celebrate Frida Garcia and Byron Rushing. Yes. Our second True Compass Award. Our second True Compass Award goes to Karen Holmes Ward. Her full bio can be found on page 21. Karen Holmes Ward, she needs no introduction and is a pillar in the community. Prior to her recent retirement, she was WCVB's longtime Director of Public Affairs and Community Services, as well as host and executive producer of City Line. Throughout her career, Holmes Ward was a driving force in spotlighting the voices, achievements, and challenges of communities of color in Boston and surrounding suburbs. She also built upon the inclusivity of journalism and is a constant advocate for civil engagement, education, and equity. Over the years, Karen has received various well-deserved awards for her accomplishments. Notably, she was inducted into the Massachusetts Broadcasters Hall of Fame for her outstanding achievements and unparalleled contributions to the broadcasting industry in Massachusetts. Here today to accept the award on behalf of Karen Holmes Ward is Andrew Vries, the President and General Manager of WCVB TV. And now we will hear from Byron Rushing.
Good morning. Frida Garcia is very disappointed that she is not able to be with us and me this morning. To paraphrase our late friend, Peter Gomes, the preacher at Harvard, who would say at the beginning of many of his speeches, "My job is to talk. Your job is to listen. If you finish your job before I finish my job, be polite." Martin Luther King, and of course, most of you know that was not his first name. Martin Luther King was born January 15th, 1927. Martin Luther King was martyred on April 4th, 1968. I would like us now to divide into two groups. You won't have to move. The first group are those here who were alive on April 4th, 1968. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Remember that day. The other group who I would like to raise their hands are those who were born after April 4th, 1968. Notice the difference in numbers. Let me say this to group one. You have an incredible responsibility. It is a responsibility that you should be carrying out every day. It is a responsibility that you have already heard parts of from our speaker this morning. And that responsibility is to tell everybody in group two what you were doing that day, what you were doing, what you heard from Martin Luther King before that day, and what you did because of Martin Luther King and that martyrdom after that day to group two. I need you to pledge to tell the truth. Those of you who didn't like him, tell the truth. Those of you who barely followed him, tell the truth. Those of you who were annoyed with him when he gave that speech at Riverside Church denouncing the war in Vietnam, tell the truth. And I ask all of you, who are the majority in this room, who are born after his martyrdom, I ask you to listen to the truth. I ask you to study Martin Luther King and his colleagues in this fantastic struggle. I ask you not to believe all the nonsense that is constantly mentioned about Martin Luther King. I ask you to learn another speech by Martin Luther King than the one he delivered at the March on Washington. And so, since you have been polite, let me leave you with this poem by Carl Wendell Hines. Now that he is safely dead, let us praise him. Build monuments to his glory, sing hosannas to his name. Dead men make such convenient heroes, for they cannot rise to challenge the images that we might fashion from their lives. It is easier to build monuments than to build a better world. So now that he is safely dead, we have eased conscience, who have eased consciences will tell our children that he was a great man, knowing that the course for which he lived is still a course, and the dream for which he died is still a dream, yet a dead man's dream. Thank you. I have to leave this script. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. As you know, Karen Holmes Ward retired from WCVB after 40 years. This breakfast is incredibly important to her. It's incredibly important to us. I spoke with her this morning, and she sends her very best. WCVB received its original license with a promise to serve the community. That mission has run through our veins since day one. And for the last 40 years, Karen Holmes Ward has been the heart and the soul of that promise. Through her leadership in community outreach, her groundbreaking work on City Line, and her fierce commitment to ensuring that WCVB reflects the diverse fabric of Greater Boston, Karen has been an essential voice. She's made WCVB stronger, she's made our community stronger, and let's be honest, she's made everybody she's worked with stronger and better and encouraged us to care more deeply about the communities we serve. Thank you. Karen has stood beside and advocated for marginalized communities, not just when it was popular, but especially when it was not. And that, perhaps, is the truest measure of her character, her commitment, and her legacy. It's something we all must emulate. The work she's done, the voices she's lifted, and the lives that she has touched will echo through the city for years to come. Dr. King said everybody can be great because anyone can serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Karen served the community she loved. Thank you.
Now we'll have a selection from the Spirituals Ensemble.
mansions above, in bright mansions above. Lord, I want to live up yonder in bright mansions above, in bright mansions above, in bright mansions above. Lord, I want to live up yonder in bright mansions above. My mother's gone to glory, my mother's gone to glory. Lord, I want to live up yonder, mansions above, in bright mansions above, in bright mansions above. Lord, I must, yes, I must live in bright mansions, in bright mansions. In bright mansions above. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you.
the way they held that note, we can hold this applause a little bit longer. Oh my goodness. The entire team, beautiful selection by the Boston Arts Academy Spirituals. And thank you all again for the speakers and for the award recipients today. All right, Senator Markey, you have a lot to live up to right now. So I'm going to introduce you all to U.S. Senator Ed Markey. Please come to the stage. And his full bio can be found on page 35.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Boston Academy of Spirituals Ensemble. You have put us in church here today. Reverend Williams, huh? Reverend Vediak, Bishop Bickerton, huh? We're in church. This is just absolutely incredible. Thank you for bringing us all together here today. And thank you to our state and local leaders, to my incredible partner down in Washington, D.C., Congresswoman Bishop Ayanna Pressley. Thank you for your preaching here today, to the faithful, and to Governor Healy, Attorney General Campbell, Mayor Wu, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and to Nikole Hannah-Jones for your unwavering commitment to justice and truth-taking. That was just such a powerful, powerful presentation which you made. So today is a day we honor a real king, America's greatest and only king. We gather this morning to honor the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. His legacy is one of relentless pursuit of equal justice, justice that is not abstract, not symbolic, never delayed for convenience. It is justice measured in fair wages, affordable housing, education, and health care, and the basic right to live without fear. That justice is under threat right now as much as it has ever been. It is a threat Dr. King saw himself and understood. He called it the giant triplets of racism, economic exploitation, and militarism. Those forces are not relics of his past. They are shaping our society right now. The Trump administration uses the machinery of government not to uplift people, but to push them out and push them back. Not to protect the vulnerable, but to test how much suffering can be normalized. Here in Boston and all across the country, we are reminded of why Dr. King's resistance strategy matters. At rallies, at marches, at sit-ins, and at vigils, people are yelling and chanting and praying and preaching. They are saying, we will resist. Dr. King taught us that organized, disciplined, nonviolent resistance is required in the quest for dignity and equal justice. So the question before us today is not whether Dr. King's legacy still matters. The question is whether we are willing to fully apply it for everyone in our society. What would Dr. King demand of us in this America, an America overrun by the giant triplets, a nation drowning in economic injustice, in mass deportations, and family separation, in book bans, and open lawlessness being conducted by the government of the United States, orchestrated out of the Oval Office of the United States? I believe that Dr. King would want us to stand up and to fight. Dr. King would tell us that we should not equivocate. He would tell us plainly that injustice does not correct itself, it compounds. That silence is not neutrality, it is complicity. And that complacency, especially amongst people of conscience, is one of the greatest threats to justice in our country. Donald Trump has chosen cruelty as policy and hate as a strategy. Just days ago, he said something that should stop this nation in its tracks. He argued, he said, that the civil rights laws meant to and did, in fact, wind up discriminating by harming white Americans. That freedom for black and brown Americans was injury, and that justice was a loss for white America. Donald Trump said that last week in the United States of America on the anniversary of the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. That statement was not a mistake. It was a declaration, a racist dog whistle. That statement attempts to reverse history, to impugn the legacies of the late John Lewis, the late C.T. Vivian, the late Hosea Williams, who fought and bled for those rights. We are witnessing a deliberate effort by Trump and MAGA to erase the truth of this nation's real history of stripping black Americans from the story of America. Brutality and the white supremacy of slavery are being softened and sanitized or removed altogether from our national records. The contributions of black workers, black thinkers, black organizers, black freedom riders are being erased from textbooks, from museums, and even our national parks, places meant to tell the honest story of who we are. The Color Purple by Alice Walker, banned. The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, banned. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, banned. Banned in America in 2026. All the while, Trump and his MAGA minions raise Confederate statues once again across the South. Symbols of protected power. Trump cares more about Greenland than black rights. This is not accidental. This is authoritarianism. It is tyranny. A nation that refuses to tell the truth about slavery cannot tell the truth about inequality. A nation that erases black resistance cannot explain black progress. And a nation that scrubs the public record is not trying to unify the country, it is trying to absorb itself from responsibility. Across this country, we see this in ICE raids that destabilize entire neighborhoods, where families live under the constant threat, where ICE thugs wearing masks without badges or identification detain and disappear and murder, all while Trump refers to Haitians as dogs and Somalis as garbage. He doesn't want to make America great again. He wants to make America hate again. That is his plan. That is what he does every single day to our nation. Well, we will not let him. We have seen this before. When Bull Connor turned fire hoses and police dogs on children in Birmingham, ICE agents have become the very criminals that they claim that they are supposed to be arresting. That is who ICE is on the streets of our country right now. Trump wants to fight for an ICE-covered Greenland, but we need to fight against ICE-covered communities all across our country, from Minneapolis to Portland to LA to Boston. We will not forget that just blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered, where the world watched a man die under the weight of state power, another life was just taken. Renee Nikole Good. Renee Good was not armed. She was not dangerous. She was a community observer, bearing witness. She was doing what democracy depends upon, watching power exercise itself in public. And she was murdered for it. Her death was not a tragedy in isolation. It was the predictable outcome of a system that utilizes violence as social control and closes ranks when accountability is demanded. Dr. King taught us that a government that terrorizes the vulnerable forfeits its moral authority. And that is why Ayanna Pressley and I have introduced a bill to repeal qualified immunity for police officers which kill innocent citizens in our country. We will not rest until it is passed. But Dr. King also taught us that violence is not limited to the use of force. There is violence when an individual who only gets $6 of SNAP assistance a day is told that they are going to lose that $6 a day for food, that our country cannot afford it. And when children walk to school on empty stomachs, we are supposed to turn a blind eye. There is violence in a public education system where all of the country's kindergarten teachers combined make less than the top 4 hedge fund managers in the United States of America. Who did more for the country last year? Those 4 hedge fund managers are every kindergarten teacher. Violence is the fact that black women in America earn 69 cents and brown women make 58 cents on the dollar earned by white men in our country. There is more work to be done. Violence is mass incarceration, where 1 in 3 black men can expect incarceration at some point in their life. Violence in an America where more than 60,000 people die each year because they cannot afford to go to a doctor on time, and those people are disproportionately black and brown. Violence in an economy where 3 white men hold more wealth than 165 million people combined, while families work multiple jobs and still live in poverty. This is not simply a failure, it is by design. The economic deck is stacked, and it has been stacked deliberately. Those giant triplets of racism, exploitation, and militarism have replaced the sacred triplets of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. But let me tell you, Boston, every single day, the fight for those fundamental rights is our obligation. I have not and I will not stop fighting. As Dr. King said, the time is always right to do what is right, and that is to fight. I have voted no on more Trump and MAGA bills and nominees than any other member of the United States Senate, because we cannot allow his policies, his people, to be put in place. And I will continue to block and fight against their racist and unjust policies. And here in Massachusetts, we know how to fight. It is who we are. 250 years ago, Crispus Attucks was the first to die in the American Revolution. But we got up, and we fought, and we won. The abolitionist movement started right here. They were knocked down. They were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. The suffragette movement started right here. They were knocked down. They were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. The same-sex marriage movement, it was started here. They were knocked down. They were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, they won. Martin Luther King Jr., Coretta Scott King, they were educated here in Boston. They were knocked down. They were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. And across this country, people are feeding families. They are organizing workers. They are protecting neighbors. They are refusing to accept cruelty as inevitable. They are standing up. They are fighting, and even as they are knocked down, they will not give up. Those people, all of you, are going to stand up and fight and win. The nation is sick. Trouble is in the land. Confusion all around, said Dr. King, but I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. Each of you in this room is a star that Dr. King can see today, standing up for justice. So let us leave here today, not in despair, but in determination. And the question before us is not whether this moment is dangerous, because it surely is. The question is whether we will meet it with the urgency which it demands. Will we fight for Medicare and Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, because health care is a fundamental right? Will we fight for an education system that equips every child for access to capital for our small businesses and for the fair and affordable, equitable housing that Dr. King called the doors of opportunity to all of God's children? Will we fight for criminal justice reform and invest instead in restorative justice, in mental health care, and in opportunity? Will we fight the stranglehold of dark money and the billionaire class on our democracy and restore the promise of one person, one vote, which he is seeking to quash? He will talk about occupying the cities of America on Election Day this year unless we stand up and fight, because he will seek to suppress that vote. We must fight for clean air, for clean justice, for every single person in our country. Environmental justice is an absolute essential. Jesus and Martin Luther King Jr., they talked about the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the sick, blessed are those in prison, blessed are those who are hungry. Blessed are the poor, that's Medicaid. Blessed are the elderly, that is Medicare. Blessed are the children, that is Head Start. Blessed are the prisoners, that's restorative justice. Blessed are those who seek justice. Those are the people who are standing on the streets of our country right now saying we need justice in our country. That is what we must stand for. That is what Martin Luther King Jr. would want us to do. He would want us to fight. Thank you all for being here in the memory of the great Martin Luther King Jr. today and every day of the year. Thank you, Boston.
Thank you, U.S. Senator Ed Markey. Now we'd like to welcome to the stage Attorney General Andrea Campbell.
Nikole tried to say it earlier, but I'm going to say it now. Good afternoon, everybody. Next year, we're going to have breakfast and lunch. But good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who is serving us, who is still here with positive energy. We are bringing up the rear end, but Jesus always had strength, so here we go. Thank you to all of the organizers. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to every young person that was honored today. When we hear about our young people, it is often through a negative lens, not a positive one. And what we saw this morning was young people working hard, who are dedicated, to Nikole's point, who are exercising courage every single day to do their part. So congratulations to every single recipient. And thank you, of course, to all of my colleagues, my elected officials, local level, county, state, you name it, statewide. I'm grateful to each and every one of you. And Nikole, thank you for coming to Boston and not being too harsh on us. We follow your work, we love you, and most importantly, thank you for speaking truth to power. Thank you for being vulnerable and authentic. We all needed that. I also thought she took my whole speech, which is about 4 minutes, but thank you very much for your message. Thank you for being here. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. We are grateful. And I have to give the mistress of ceremonies, Brittany. Can you stand up, please? Can we give her a huge round of applause? This is a long ceremony, and she has handled it with grace and exceptionalism. She is a legend in her own right in an industry that, frankly, there's not a lot of us, so thank you very much. I'll be short and sweet. What I love about our civil rights leaders and ancestors, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Claudette Colvin. Is that they were men and women of incredible faith. Abraham faith, Joseph faith, David faith, Jesus faith, with death at their doorsteps every single day. They pursued righteousness and justice. They pursued knowing they would never see the fruits of their labor. They would never see me, only the 4th ever Black woman elected Attorney General in the country. And only the first woman of color to win statewide office here in Massachusetts. They fought knowing they would never see it, and I am grateful. With this inspiration and my ancestors and the angels in charge over me, and a deep sense of faith, I ask myself every day, and it's similar to what Nikole said to us this morning, what do you bring? Moses brought the law. Jesus brought truth, grace, and redemption. Our ancestors brought inspiration in a fight. In these unprecedented and wicked times, each of us must answer the question, what do you bring? My nearly 50 lawsuits, my team, are 50 lawsuits against the Trump administration. 50 lawsuits to protect SNAP benefits, to protect the 14th Amendment, to protect birthright citizenship, to protect mental health grants, to protect clinical trials for pediatric cancer and public health, to protect public education, to protect DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility, to protect our public education and jobs, to protect over $3 billion in Massachusetts investments, to protect our immigrants, all of them. I see that as an answer to the call. I see our new Elder Justice Unit as an answer to the call. I see our new Housing Affordability Unit as an answer to the call. I see our new Police Accountability Unit, our Youth Advisory Council as an answer to the call. Habakkuk, only about 4 pages in the Bible, prophesied it. And as I pray every morning for this great country and this state in our world, he said, "O Lord, how long shall I cry, and you will not hear? Even cry out to you, violence, and you will not save. For plundering and violence are before me. There is strife and contention arises. Therefore the law is powerless and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous. Therefore perverse judgment proceeds." And God responded, "Look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed. For I'm going to do something in your days that you would not believe even if you were told. I am raising up the Babylonians, a ruthless and impetuous people who sweep across the whole earth to seize dwellings not their own. They are feared and a dreaded people. They are a law to themselves and promote their own honor. They all come intent on violence. Their hordes advance like a desert wind and gather prisoners like sand." Ultimately, Habakkuk says, "I will stand upon my watch and set myself upon the tower and will watch to see what you, Lord, will say to me, and what I shall answer when I'm approved. I will watch and see what you, Lord, will say to me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. I am convicted, not convinced, I am convicted that this God, who MLK, and let's not forget why he did his work, he revered and loved God, and he loved Jesus. Even the day before he died, in that last speech he said so poignantly, not from his notes, but from the Spirit, I just want to do God's will. That this God is waiting on us, not to actually waste our time pointing fingers, rather to ask ourselves in the mirror, what do you bring? God's response to Habakkuk was to raise up an impetuous people to horrific violence because his so-called people, his believers, his followers, dare I say it in front of young people, were half-assing it. They were compromising. They were focused on their own power, their wealth, and their position. They were not pursuing justice and righteousness. Even before this current administration, the law and justice were paralyzed because we were paralyzed, not pursuing justice with the model of this breakfast, with the fierce urgency of now, with revolutionary love, liberation, and joy. Yet, just as in Habakkuk's prophecy and the Lord's story, the Babylonians were ultimately wiped out, and the righteousness and the righteous were restored and not forsaken. And if our God can do that, oh my, that means love can prevail. That means justice can prevail. That means what Nikole talked about can prevail. What Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of our ancestors knew and hoped for from this generation, as Byron Rushing so eloquently described, what they hoped for from this generation was that we would know, enter by the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many go in it. But narrow is the gate and difficult is the way that leads to life, justice, peace, joy, and few find it. They wanted us to be the few. So I end with this. Regardless of your faith tradition, I think you know mine. What will you bring in this moment in time? How will you do at the fierce urgency of now to actually ensure righteousness and justice, like we saw during that Reconstruction, actually prevails now and for the generations to come? It's an honor and privilege to be your Attorney General. I don't just do this work for you and the God I serve. I do it for my two beautiful boys who are 6 and 8, breaking cycles of a whole bunch of shh to ensure that this state and country ultimately become what they deserve, what they are entitled to, and what our God envisioned, and most importantly, what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of those beautiful ancestors envisioned for us in the generations to come. God bless each and every one of you, and happy Martin Luther King Day.
Thank you again for those remarks from our Attorney General, Andrea Campbell. On behalf of the MLK Memorial Breakfast Committee, thank you to all of our corporate and institutional sponsors for another year to remember, honor, and celebrate a life of truth, justice, and peace. You will find the complete listing on pages 4 and 5. I'll start with our legacy sponsors, MathWorks, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, Inspire sponsor, the Denny, Miles, and Street families. Lead sponsors, Cabot Corporation, Carl and Bridget Long, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Episcopal Diocese of Massachusetts, Fidelity Investments, Keolis Commuter Services, Liberty Mutual Insurance, Nellie Mae Education Foundation, New Commonwealth Fund. Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, Mayor Michelle Wu, City of Boston. RISE sponsors, Boston Medical Center Health System, Dollar Tree Incorporated, Justice Resource Institute, Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers, Reparations Task Force and Equity and Inclusion Cabinet of the City of Boston, Spencer Preservation Group, the Boston Foundation, TJX Companies, William Monroe Trotter Institute at UMass Boston. Our Hope sponsors, AFT Massachusetts, Boston Teachers Union, Care Access, Home Care with Grace LLC, Trinity Church in the City of Boston, UHM Properties. Dream sponsors, Greater Boston Interfaith Organization. Advocate sponsors, National Black MBA Boston Chapter, Preachers Aid Society. Equity sponsors, Boston City Councilor at Large, Ruth Z. Louisine, Kelly Chun and Associates, Massachusetts Black Lawyers Association, Massachusetts Health Council, Massachusetts Trial Court, Suffolk Probate and Family Court, and Office of the Registry, Sustainable Business Network of Massachusetts. Media sponsors, Boston Neighborhood Network, WCVB, Institutional Partners, Action for Boston Community Development, Babson College, Boston College High School, Boys and Girls Club of Boston, Boys and Girls Club of Boston Career Labs, Bridgewater State University, Martin Richard Institute for Social Justice, Cambridge Housing Authority, Celebrity Series of Boston, City of Boston, Commonwealth Kitchen, First Church in Boston, Green Ribbon Commission, Massachusetts Port Authority, Massachusetts Teachers Association, Mission Safe, A New Beginning Incorporated, National Society of Black Engineers, Boston Professionals, New England Conference of the United Methodist Church, Office of Suffolk County District Attorney Kevin Hayden, Old South Church, Roxbury Community College, Stone and Company LLC, Tufts Medicine, United Methodist Foundation of New England, YMCA of Greater Boston. Let's thank all of our sponsors.
Would you stand for the benediction? In the church world, a benediction is a sending forth. It's not something to be done with head bowed, but something to be proclaimed with head up, eyeball to eyeball. Some in this room know that I have a favorite benediction. It goes like this. In the name of the one who created us, in the name of the one who saved us, in the name of the one who sustains us, get out of here. Dr. King once said, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. That is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil, triumphant. In the spirit of those words, may God be with us in our going out and in our coming in our rising up and in our lying down, in our moments of joy and in our moments of sorrow. May God give us strength to love our enemies and work tirelessly for a warless world and a society that transcends race or color. May God grant us a vision of a beloved community, a place where all God's children, everywhere and anywhere, can rejoice and serve together. May God bless us with hope and endurance until the day when there shall be no sunset and no dawning. May God challenge us, not to just sing and pray, but work for justice, peace, grace, hope, and love in all things, remembering that God requires us to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with our God. And in the name of the one who created us, the one who saved us, and the one who sustained us, get out of here and do something about it, and do it now. May it be so. May it be so. Amen.